Vietnamese Dong holders, brace yourselves. Today's financial undercurrents demand your full attention. The atmosphere in global markets has turned volatile with barely a moment's notice, and the ripple effects are reaching every corner of global finance, including the Vietnamese Dong. In the last few hours, regional sentiment has tightened noticeably. It may catch many by surprise, but this is precisely why you should remain alert, informed, and ready to respond swiftly. There is a growing sense among market watchers that capital flows could shift with dazzling speed. Geopolitical tensions in Southeast Asia remain heightened, and investors are acutely watching central bank rhetoric worldwide. A single unexpected statement, a swift policy pivot, or a surge in speculative capital could redefine the trajectory of the Dong almost instantaneously. If you hold significant Dong assets, whether for investment, remittances, business, or savings, now is the time to assess your holdings with urgency, to understand what exposure you face, and to prepare for sudden swings. The currency market is not forgiving of complacency. Even as you absorb this message, global macroeconomic data is streaming in. Interest rate projections in the US and Europe are shifting, inflation signals are flashing green in some places and red in others, and policy divergence is growing. Each twist in the economic data could either destabilize or reaffirm confidence in emerging market currencies, but the margin for error is razor-thin. For holders of the Dong, that means what may seem like small developments, an unexpectedly hawkish yield announcement, an optimistic economic indicator from China, or a hint of easing from regional central banks can cascade into rapid currency moves that catch many off guard. In addition to macro forces, domestic developments in Vietnam must be watched closely. Trade data, fiscal policy shifts, central bank interventions, and even public statements from key officials can play out disproportionately in the exchange rate. If the State Bank of Vietnam steps in, no matter how discreetly, the effectiveness of such intervention may last only moments before the market prices it in fully. And because foreign exchange markets are forward-looking and nimble, those signals may show up almost immediately in exchange rates, bond yields, and capital flows. Let me emphasize that this is not hypothetical. It is happening. We're seeing heightened speculative activity in regional foreign exchange markets, more intraday volatility, and increased chatter from institutional desks. Traders are repositioning, and this is exactly the kind of environment where the Dong could experience sudden, material shifts. For holders of the Dong, whether they are businesses paying suppliers, individuals awaiting inbound transfers, or investors with positions in Vietnamese-denominated assets, complacency is the greatest risk. Plan your next moves now. If you're managing operational exposure, act quickly to assess whether to hedge. Options, forwards, or other instruments can provide a breathing space. If you're an investor, consider your risk tolerance and your longer-term view, but do not ignore what could unfold in the immediate hours or days. Delay could cost you meaningfully. For those sending or receiving remittances, understand that exchange rates may weaken or strengthen sharply. Even narrow fluctuations can affect purchasing power. Have a fallback plan in place now. It is also worth underscoring that communication lines are critical. If you have counterparties or clients overseas, now more than ever, stay in contact. A moment of silence amid volatility can lead to misunderstandings, cost overruns, or disrupted operations. And if you receive advice from advisors or brokers, urge them to stay on alert too. Markets feed on information asymmetries. If you're slower than the market, you may already be behind. This is not about stirring panic. It is about responding with clarity and discipline. In high volatility environments, oftentimes the difference between sound gains and unexpected losses is decisiveness. Think through your options calmly but clearly. Factor in liquidity, your access to cover, and the potential for sudden policy moves or statements. Be prepared to act, not rashly, but decisively. Swift reaction can become your greatest asset when markets are shifting beneath your feet. Here is why you must act now, before the story unfolds further. Monetary policy cycles around the world are at a critical juncture. Inflation in developed economies may moderate, but central banks are on watch. Emerging markets are vulnerable, and the Vietnamese Dong stands at the crossroads of global capital flows. A shift in sentiment, whether driven by data, policy, or news can land with profound impact. By the time consensus emerges, markets may have already moved. Preparation must precede clarity. Let's consider what could happen next. Suppose a major trading partner releases unexpectedly strong economic data, or a central bank announces a surprise easing. Capital could flood in, strengthening the dong. Alternatively, if global risk sentiment deteriorates, or if geopolitical tensions escalate, capital could retract, putting downward pressure on the currency. Both scenarios are plausible and can unfold rapidly. And because foreign exchange is a 24-hour market, there is no overnight to adjust. The moment reaction starts, it carries through until new equilibrium is found. So for Vietnamese Dong holders, prudence and agility are your guiding principles. Map where your exposure lies. Decide ahead of time how you will react under different scenarios, and make sure execution channels are established. Don't wait until the market is moving to look for solutions. By then, it may be too late. Remember, in financial markets, sometimes the key to security is not predicting the future, but preparing for it. As this bulletin winds down, but certainly not concludes, we return to the directive. Be ready. Let urgency guide you, but let preparation ground you. If you can, model out best case and worst case outcomes for the dong over the next 24 to 72 hours. Factor in global and local data, central bank catalysts, and geopolitical noise. Revisit your liquidity, your hedging, your communication chains. And above all, remain alert. Holders of the dong are now facing a moment where information, decisiveness, and preparedness could make all the difference. This is a live, evolving situation. The window to plan, position, and protect may be narrow. The market may shift with no warning. Stay disciplined, stay connected, and stay ready. Today, the financial environment demands nothing less from Vietnamese dong holders.